Hi again. Page 212 of this Freedom, Whence, John Wesley, Bready, in the chapter A Nation Reborn, Wilberforce and the Clapham Sect. The case of William Wilberforce is but an outstanding instance of the character transformation which the evangelical revival wrought on a grand scale. A child of wealth and endowed with wit, brains, charm, and the voice of a nightingale, he was the center of a gay set during his Cambridge days. In 1780, when 21, having spent nearly £9,000 upon the election, he was returned MP for his native city, Hull, receiving as many votes as the two opposing candidates. The same age as Pitt, he soon became his most intimate friend, Pitt often spending weeks on end at his country house. The political game, too, was dear to his heart. He loved its urbanity, its satire, its repartee, while nothing afforded him keener delight than opportunity to tear the enemy to pieces. In every sense, he was a smart young man about town. Membership in 5 of the most exclusive London clubs affording him opportunity for much frolic and some dissipation. He could drink as deeply and gamble as suavely as most dandies in his set, and all the while the shady antics and sensuous excitement of nightlife were gaining hold on him. Then, in 1785, he fell upon Dr. Doddridge's book, The Rise and Progress of Religion. Discontent with his mode of life began to scourge his conscience. A wistful yearning plumbed the depth of his being. An ordeal of months ensued, during which Isaac Milner, his one-time teacher at Hull, and John Newton, the one-time slave ship captain, were his spiritual guides. And from that ordeal, after burning anguish of soul, he emerged a new man. Even Pitt, much as Wilberforce loved him, could not shake his newfound faith. No longer had party politics their old appeal. No longer would the gambling table, the drinking bout, or the nightclub dissipate his energy or fritter away his time. No longer would he consider his wealth or his talents his own. A new world had opened before him. New standards would control his mind. New motives would energize his life. Henceforth he believed himself a steward of God, and if many were to mock him as a budding saint, his own deepest desire was to merit their taunt. But there are saints and saints. To Wilberforce and the religion he typified, sainthood was a highly practical and useful state of life. Moreover, if the smart set would know him no more as a boon companion, many even among the glittering friends of early days would yet declare that the serenity of the saint was more utterly captivating than the swagger of the gay young sinner. His love, too, for his friends of early days never abated. True, Pitt, as Prime Minister, could scarcely pour out his heart on such twilight questions as party finance to the highly sensitized conscience of his converted comrade. But if complete intimacy was broken, Pitt's veneration for the saint only increased. And the one occasion on which that masterful statesman was known to shed a tear in the House of Commons was when his revered friend, conscience bound, opposed him sternly on a major moral issue. Yet when such occasions occurred, Pitt knew well that the cleavage pained his old friend no less than himself. The saint was no prig. All semblance of Pharisaism was obnoxious to him. Long after his transfiguring ordeal, Wilberforce wrote, quote, "I devoted myself, for whatever might be the term of my future life, to the service of my God and Savior, and with many infirmities and deficiencies, through his help, I continue unto this day." End of quote. So strong, however, was the odium with which Methodist convictions were held by the ruling classes, even as late as 1785, that many associates, learning of his conversion, thought the young parliamentarian had gone mad. "Strange reports," writes Wilberforce, "were now raised about me. I was said to be out of my mind and melancholy mad. These reports were conveyed to my mother and my relatives in Yorkshire, and for some time made them very uneasy. But on my going down to visit them, which I soon did, I took pains to be cheerful, pleasant, and kind in the society of my friends. My natural disposition was irritable, and had often caused them much pain. they were exceedingly struck by my altered deportment. They found me so much more kind and patient, so much more forbearing and considerate than formerly, that one of them remarked, "If such were the effects of becoming melancholy mad, it would be well if many of our acquaintance would take the infection." End of quote. Of the more positive effects of his soul's awakening, Wilberforce speaks in no uncertain words. In his famous book, A Practical View of the Prevailing Religious System of Professed Christians in the Higher and Middle Classes in this country, contrasted with Real Christianity, usually called, by the way, Real Christianity, which ran into some 40 editions and several translations, and for decades was judged a manifesto of evangelical Christianity, he objects strongly that religion is too frequently suffered to dwindle into a mere matter of police. But to the real Christian, he affirms, the doctrines of the gospel constitute the center to which he gravitates. They are the sun of his system, the soul of his world, the origin of all that is excellent and lovely, the source of light and life and motion. Dim, says Wilberforce, is the light of reason, and cold and comfortless our state, while left to her unassisted guidance. Again, the power of his religious convictions over his public life is clearly expressed in a letter to his mother. Quote, "It is not, believe me, to any imagination or to any system formed in my closet that I look for my principles. It is to the very source to which you refer me, the Scriptures. All that I contend for is that we should really make this book the criterion of our opinions and actions. Some men are thrown into public life, some have their lot in private life. What I have said will, I hope, be sufficient to remove any apprehensions that I mean to shut myself up in my closet in town or in my hermitage in the country. No, my dear mother, in my circumstances this would merit no better name than desertion. And if I were thus trying to fly from the post where Providence has placed me, I know not how I could look for the blessing of God upon my retirement. And without his heavenly assistance, either in the world or in solitude, our own endeavors will be equally ineffectual." More on Wilberforce and the Clapham sect next time. Put a link into a video Vivian did from his book, this very famous book of his later life, Real Christianity.